What's going on, everyone? I'm Ello and you're watching Ello Built, and today's video will be a talking one. Now, before you X out, this video will be very informative. I'm going to be talking about and comparing the K series versus the F series. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions from my friends, from other enthusiasts, pretty much telling me, why are you going with an F series instead of a K series? And I'm going to explain those reasons and show you that the F series is very beneficial and can be cost effective. Now, there's a lot of information out there on the K series. It's been tested, it's been proven, there's abundance in parts. So I'm going to pretty much break everything down on what needs to be done on a K series to make it as good as an F series. Because if you compare the two stock for stock, the F series is already superior. They are similar in a packaging standpoint. They are relatively 2-liter engines, open deck, aluminum, high flowing heads. The only difference is that the K series does have an adjustable VTC. It's more tunable, whereas the F series, it's almost limited already when it comes to all motor power. But is it really? Now, over the years, the K series has been tested and has been proven, and it's very affordable, and you see them everywhere nowadays. Whereas the F series isn't as readily available as a K series, and they only came in an S2000. So, considering the motor and chassis, the price on an F series S2000 engine could be, well, is more expensive than a K series. But you are getting a better motor. F series already have forged internals, whereas the K series, it's cast. Yes, you can make a lot of horsepower on a K series, but at what point does it start becoming unreliable? Now, the information that I'm going to be talking about is an unbiased, in a sense, of opinions. I've been doing my research. I've had K series before, you know, through my own personal experiences. I've had an S2000, Turbo S2000. So I've experienced both K and F series, and I've spoken to other people that have F2Ks as well, which is only a handful of people, but I've been trying to get my information and pretty much collecting it and assessing it, you know, in comparisons between the two motors. I've also spoke to my tuner, Fred, which a lot of you know is Derf Tuned. He has years of experience with K series and F series. So I also spoke with him to get solid information, real life information. And I've also went into the internet, because why not? Everything's on the internet. There's many platforms as far as forums, YouTube, even social media. So just sit back, have a beer. You might learn something today, you might not, but I hope some of this information will benefit you if you want to do something like this in the future. I'm in the process of making F2Ks affordable and usable. So at the end of the video I'll explain that, but let's compare the two as of now. The motor I'm going to be comparing is a K20, K24 hybrid setup, which is probably the most horsepower per dollar you'll get. So I'm going to break everything down on the things you need to make a K series make anywhere between 240 and 260 wheel horsepower. The prices I'm going to be giving you are low and high end, because you can find motors cheaper than finding them online, locally. So I'm just going to break down the costs of making a K24 make the power of 240 to 260. So first you would need a K24 A2 motor. It's the best K24 motor you could get compared to like the Accord motors, the other K24 A3s, A4s, Zs. K24 A2 is the best bottom end to start off with, and you could get those motors anywhere between $700 and $1,000, just the motor itself. Now you could use that motor entirely, K24 A2, but the head isn't as good as a K20A head. And also the oiling system you would have to change. K24 motor, anywhere between $700 $1,000. You would need a K20 oil pump You could get that from Track Tough for about $310. You would also need a plug for the girdle. If you don't plug it, you're gonna have issues. So you could either put a bolt in it with some silicone, or you could buy a plug off Track Tough for $25. Now you would need the K20A or K20Z head. Now you could find those between $500 and $800. Now on top of that, you would need an RBC intake manifold. You could find an RBC intake manifold between $150 and $350. That doesn't include other intake options. As far if you don't want to use an RBC, you want to use a Skunk 2 Ultra or a Gato intake, or the variety of intakes that are out there for K series, but once you do that, the price will go up. Throttle bodies, you could either use the stock K20A throttle body, or you could upgrade anywhere between $100 to $400 for a throttle body. You would also need a swap header. Now, the gap in between low and high end for a header is huge. So you could get a header relatively cheap for $300 to a header that costs you $1,200. So depending on what the performance that you would like, your budget, if you want to go cheap, you go $300. If you want to go all out, you get like a Myers competition, you'll probably spend somewhere of $1,200. Pulley setup. Now when you do a K series, most of the time you will run delete or relocate, and that pulley system, that pulley setup could cost anywhere between $50 to $300. You know, you could get away with using a stock EP3 pulley, but if you want power steering, you're gonna have to add other things on top of that. So take that into consideration too. You have all these parts for the K24, K20 setup. Now this is what you are gonna need to make the most power that you could possibly get out of these parts. If you're mechanically inclined, you could put this together without any cost. You could also research it, Google how-tos. I have a build video that I did myself. I'll put a link up here so you could watch that. It's had over 100,000 views of me building a K series. So I know these motors in and out. Like, this is, I'm not feeding you garbage or misinformation. If you're not mechanically inclined, you're gonna have to find somebody or a shop to put these parts together for you. Now putting a motor in, there's really no science to it. It's just a few bolts, drop in, drop out. But once you start changing the cylinder head and doing the timing and replacing the oil pump, it could get a little intimidating. Take into consideration that the cost also will go up for somebody to put this together. Now on the low end, for putting a K24, K20, you're looking at $2,135 with all those parts that I mentioned. On the high end, you're looking at a total of $4,385 with those parts that I mentioned. Now an S2000 motor, stock long block, will run you anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000. S2000 with regular bolt-ons on E85, talking the best engine, which I think the F22 is better over the F20. Now if you have an F22 S2000 and an S2000 chassis, full bolt-ons E85, you'll make anywhere between 230 and 240 wheel horsepower. Now these are numbers that I've gotten from my tuner, from his experience between the two motors. 240 to 260 on a K24, K20, the setups I just gave you, and an S2000 full bolt-ons E85. Those are the average numbers that you'll see. Keep in mind, the total price that I gave you for the K24, K20 setup did not include price on labor if you do go that route. So depending on the labor, you might see anywhere between 500 to 1,000, whoever, 300 bucks, depending on who does it for you. So it's a little higher than before, that between low end and high end. Recently, Gears and Gasoline made a video explaining the breakdown of cost to do a K series in a Honda. Now his total price was $25,000, but that's including suspension, tires, roll cage, all the little things in the car as a whole. In that video, you could see he made somewhere close to 270 wheel horsepower on a K24, K20 setup with the same things that I explained earlier as far as price, but he added upgraded cams. Upgraded cams, valve work, machine work. You're seeing somewhere upwards of almost $3,000 to get that all done. So add that on top of the previous total price that I gave you. That's a lot of money to make sub 270 wheel horsepower. Also a lot of work. The price of having somebody put everything together is gonna go up. Now you're probably telling yourself, the S2000 makes less horsepower compared to the K24. Well, it's in a rear wheel drive configuration. And as we all know, you have parasitic drivetrain loss. From rear wheel drive cars, 4-wheel drive cars are even worse. So when you take that F series and you put it into a front wheel drive configuration, you actually gain horsepower just by switching it to front wheel drive. Now there's a rough gain of probably 10 to 20 wheel horsepower just by switching it to front wheel drive. So now if you take that 240 wheel horsepower rear wheel drive setup and you put it into a front wheel drive configuration, you will probably see 240 to 260, similar to a K24, K20. But you literally don't have to do anything to the S2000. You don't have to open it up, you don't have to change the oil pump, because the oil pump on the S2000 is the best pump you could get. Race programs, they use S2000 oil pumps. Just the oil pump in itself is $500. Also, oil pan. Oil pan, if you guys track or do circuit track racing, S2000 already has a better oil pickup setup than a K20. Usually you would have to change the oil pan on a K20. It's gonna go another $300, $400 to have a better oil pan. So I follow somebody on Instagram that I've been messaging that has an F2K, and he's been having this setup since 2008. I'll put his Instagram over here, but it's S2000_EG. His name is Randy. So I messaged him, tried to get his information on his take of his setup. When he tuned his car, stock F22, he made 241 wheel horsepower on a Hurt motor on pump gas. He literally just put it in there. I went to go tune. He didn't have to tear down the motor. He didn't have to do anything. You could go ahead and message him if you have any doubts. He also has a YouTube channel and he has dyno videos. He races it. He's still running that same engine till this day.
To this day! You just sit here and you don't know what I'm talking about?
There's a lot of YouTube channels such as Gears and Gasoline, and also just recently Speed Academy did a video on pretty much, is K-Series the best swap that you could possibly do? Yes, it can be, but you have to do a lot of things to make it as good as a stock F-Series. And on top of that, the F-Series could handle a lot of boost, could handle a lot of power. I've had my S2000 making over 600 for over a year. If you know how I drive, you know I'm not easy on my cars. And that was like a testament and proved to me that these motors are very powerful, are very reliable. Now the thing is, a lot of people are deterred on doing the swap because the mount kit is $4,000 from Inline Pro. $4,000. That's insane. So what I'm going to be offering is an affordable solution to people that would like to do this F2K swap. If you already have a K-Series, you don't have to completely change the setup. You can still use the K-Series mounts, K-Series axles, K-Series clutch, K-Series transmission. I'm gonna come up with a kit with the help of some others, some close friends of mine, fabricators, to make an affordable solution to doing an F2K. Is a K-Series engine a great engine? Yes. I love them very much. They're great. They're not the greatest sounding if you compare it to an F-Series. Power delivery on an F-Series is also very linear. Tunability on an F-Series is easier, I would say, over a K-Series. I'm not a tuner, but if I had to guess, you would diminish VTC and cam angle. I'm going to develop a mount kit. I'm going to be using my Integra Type R, pretty much a guinea pig. And as you know, Integras and EGs pretty much share the same chassis. It will be available for EG, DC chassis, and I've also recently picked up a new chassis, which is an EK chassis. I recently obtained an EM1, and I will also be doing an F2K on that, because I want to show everybody that the F-Series is just as good, if not better, than a K-Series, and pretty much broaden your horizon of swap options. Hope some of you liked what I had to say. Some of you are probably skeptical, but I'm going to prove all this over time. The first step of development of my F2K kit that I will be offering is in the works already, and I just want to show that there's more out there, and following the path is very easy, but making a new one is adventurous. So if you guys liked what I had to say, you know, if you have any questions, then feel free to message me and leave a comment below. I'll answer them as best as possible. And I just want to show there's more options than just a K-Series. You know, K-Series is becoming a motor that you see everywhere. After a while, it gets boring, seeing the same thing over and over again. Do something a little bit different. These F-Series are probably the best motor that Honda has developed. So why not use one of Honda's greatest? So like, share, subscribe. Booby! Bubs! Bubs, come on. Come on. Come on. Oh boy. If you like the video, please share, like, subscribe, leave a comment. I would love to hear from you guys. Next video, I'm going to be putting the F-Series into the Integra Type R and show you how easily the swap could be done now. You'll gain so much out of it. The K-Series will look like a dinosaur. So, everybody, that's pretty much it. Elo out.